Okay. Hi guys, welcome back to the mountain. So, things I need to address. There's a dude mowing way up the hill over there and is echoing back through the valley up to where I'm at. I walked out here, it's very hot. I don't want to have to just wait till he's done. Sorry, not sorry. We just gonna have to fire and adjust and deal with that. Secondly, I've said multiple times, if you got it, pack it with me. Just so you know, if you got it, pack it. Crack that beer open. Just so you know, I've said multiple times on this channel, I only teach defensive tactics. I do not teach assaults or anything of that variety. I don't like teaching people stuff that I feel like they could use to not defend themselves, but mainly to harm someone. Now, I know that might sound crazy for a gun tuber, but you'd be surprised how many gang members and stuff watch Garand Thumb. I mean, like, honestly, he's got almost 2 million subscribers. Some of those have to be some pretty bad guys. Not everybody's a hero. So today we're going to talk about ambushes. Specifically ambushes in a defensive scenario and how they could be used defensively. Pros, cons, and just generally how to do them and how to do them effectively. Now, we can sit here all day and talk for hours and hours on, well, if this scenario this and if this scenario that. This is just going to be a very basic understanding and introduction to where you can, like I said, fire and adjust. That's a military term. That means feed it in, look at the situation, plan, and adjust to it. You fire and adjust. That's what we're doing. I'm giving you a very basic understanding of what ambushes are and how to conduct them, what to look for, etc., pros and cons. And then it is up to you as a guerrilla or whatever you are in the scenario to conduct them. U.S. Army soldier, or whatever. Do with this information as you will. Just don't break any laws and be safe out there. I mean, we never know what's going to happen, whether it's an active shooter scenario or Russia invades or just something crazy. You might have to use this one day if you're. Okay, ambushes for defensive purposes. An ambush is a surprise attack from a concealed position. Different types of ambushes are point ambush. A point ambush involves a single kill zone where soldiers attack the enemy. So one concentrated area, which is called a kill zone, where you want to be shooting. A point ambush, which is the main focus of this video, because it applies mainly to guerrilla forces and small squad level to platoon level elements. That kind of ambush focuses on a single kill zone. So like a linear danger area, which is something like a deer trail or a road or something, a stream, something like that. Could be anything, could be a fob, whatever, but those are just some easy examples for you. The second type of ambush is an area ambush. This involves 2 or more related point ambushes at separate sites, usually on multiple enemy formations. So this is a point ambush times 2, 3, 4, or 5. It's the same thing, just different areas at the same time. Third type of ambush is anti-armor. An anti-armor ambush is designed to destroy or disable enemy armored or mechanized vehicles. So like tanks and Humvees and just cars in general. Any kind of mechanized or armored vehicle that the enemy may have. Now, technically, if it all goes down and a foreign body does invade the U.S., anti-armor area, we all need to know that, but we're going to focus more on point ambushes. This is because I would say that most guerrilla forces are going to be squad to maybe platoon size elements maxed out in local communities. And also as a platoon leader or a company commander, so to speak, if you can conduct a point ambush then effectively, then you can conduct an area ambush effectively, and then you can use those skills and what you learn to conduct an anti-armor ambush effectively. It all boils down to, if you can do a successful point ambush, you can do successful anything ambush. The anti-armor obviously would probably have to have explosives, but we'll get to that down the road. So why ambush? Why am I teaching this? Like I said, ambushes allow smaller forces with limited means the ability to destroy a much larger force. I.e., you could get 6 Joes out there under your command to conduct an ambush, even as a guerrilla fighter, and successfully take out maybe a platoon-sized element if they are in an open area or in the kill zone that you pre-planned. That's if you get the drop on them. However, a lot of times you can set up an ambush, and as long as you are in a concealed position, which you should already plan it out, you can let them pass. You can let the element pass if you don't think you can take them, and just be done with it. So before we get any further, we're also going to specifically talk about deliberate ambushes. There's 2 main kind of categories. There's a hasty, which is you see people and you automatically set up your ambush and you're like a robot, you know, you just auto everything and then get to shoot, right? But there's also deliberate, which is pre-planned. Now, if you watch my military planning, like how to plan military missions, you would know that intelligence is essentially everything. And as a guerrilla, you're already in your AO, whether it be your house, your town, your local community. You should already have maps of the place and everything. So you should already be out in these woods studying and learning and trying to become more, you know, really getting to know the area, getting to know the community, whatever that involves. That's what you should be doing as a guerrilla or a prepared citizen. Now, getting out of the way, everything you learn here, if you get good at it, you can use to successfully pull off a hasty ambush. However, for specifically defensive scenarios, a deliberate ambush offers not only safer, I mean, nothing's safe in a gunfight, but a more planned out attack, but it gives you and the Joes a little bit more morale when it comes to it, because each Joe, each member of the squad has a very specific job, has a very specific area where they're at. You should already have it planned, escape routes, etc. What I'm trying to say is there's less room for error with a deliberate ambush. And in defensive positions, you guys should set this up whether it happens or not. Let's say Russia, God forbid, or China invaded tomorrow. Well, you watch this video, might be too late, but if you watch this video, go figure out positions, set it up, all the areas that you may face danger, and then just put yourself in that situation and what you would do and where you would put your Joes or where would you put your buddies. And just, you know, start turning them cogs. So like I said, ambushes allow for smaller forces with limited supplies to take on much larger forces than themselves and be successful. This is one of the only military operations that does that. Typically, like the U.S. Army works on a 3-to-1 scale. If they do not outnumber the enemy 3-to-1, then they will typically let them pass or they will push back. That's the rule. That's what I was taught in Fort Benning, or I guess Fort Moore now, and that is how it's always been since like the 80s. If you don't outnumber the enemy 3-to-1, unless you're conducting an ambush, you try to kick rocks, so to speak. An ambush provides destruction or harassment. Now, like I said, in a guerrilla's eyes, you're probably looking for destruction. However, harassment can be stuff like logistics. So let's say they're running food trucks or supply or tankers or something like akin to a HEMTT, like fuelers, right? you can use an ambush to stop that supply chain, and then everybody's going to be hurting. They're going to be hungry. They ain't going to have no gas, etc. So ambushes can be used to completely hinder supply chains. So, finding an ambush site or choosing an ambush site. Things you want to look for when choosing a site are, number one, a good field of fire into the kill zone. You want to make sure that you can see what you're going to shoot at. You want good cover and concealment. If you don't know what cover and concealment is, go watch my video on that, because a lot of people think that something's cover, but it's actually concealment. Especially depending, like if they're rocking mounted 50 cals, you probably need a dirt berm or a hillside or something, a big rock or a boulder, because a lot of these trees, I actually took my 308 out and I shot through like a 12-inch tree like it was nothing at like 50 yards. And that really put things in perspective for me. Like, any kind of heavy machine gun fire will just tear through trees. I mean, like I said, it was about 12 inches in diameter. That just really shocked me. So you want to look for cover and concealment. Has a protective obstacle or barrier. So kind of what I said, you know, you can bound to something like a boulder, or you have good cover and concealment, or even like a ridge line, like, you know, Obi-Wan, you know, the high ground, that's a real thing. If you can get up on a ridge line to conduct an ambush, that just makes everything so much easier. Ridge lines are insane, as in, if you're taking fire and you're up on a ridge, it's really hard to spot you, and then once you're spotted, all you got to do is just kick rocks back. Now, unless they got artillery fire or grade A explosives and they got a really good grenadier on their hands, you should be fine. And the next point that it makes, this is straight from the Army TM, by the way. It says you need cover, concealment, and a good withdrawal route. So what I was saying, you need to be able to get the hell out of there if it starts going sideways. Last thing is, you want to make sure that the enemy has every disadvantage that you can give them. Like a flank attack or whatever, if they're trying to pull something off, you want to get it done as soon as possible, essentially. If one of your Joes starts firing, you all just need to start firing into the kill zone until nothing is moving, everything is done. There's no chance of them getting back up. All right, now we keep saying this word kill zone. Well, it's two words, but you get what I mean, a kill zone. So I just want to hit on that again. A kill zone is a position, area, where fire is concentrated to isolate and destroy the enemy. So like I said, it could be like a road. They'll send an ambush up on a road because, I don't know, Russian tanks or Russian platoons marching down, something crazy, right? We'll say enemies from now on. So you got an enemy force coming down a deer trail or something. That's a good spot to set up an ambush. The trail itself would be the kill zone, and then you would specifically point out if it's near or far. So within 50 meters is a near ambush, past 50 meters is a far ambush. But you want to set all that up. You want to set the plan up deliberate ambush. You want to set all that up way before everything. Every Joe needs to know where their firing lane is and how to do this. No weak links. That's the thing, especially with guerrillas. They can't be any weak links in the chain. So, the ideal kill zone has three characteristics. The enemy forces are likely to enter it. So like I said, linear danger areas, roads, maybe there's a lake, or not a lake, but a pond, and it's the only one for miles. They might need some water, you know what I mean? Just stuff like that. They're likely to enter it. You got intel saying they're coming this way on the map. You look, the terrain, they can only go through here, like through these hills or something. That's a good kill zone. It has natural tactical obstacles. So like I said, let's say there's two cliffs and this is the only way, unless they want to rappel or something. Humans are naturally lazy. They will take the easiest route possible. Even trained soldiers will, once they get tired. When everybody gets tired and they don't have a lot of sleep, they start getting complacent. So like I said, deer trails, roads, gravel roads, all that is included in this. Natural tactical obstacles. And like I said before, the last thing you want to look for in a kill zone is it's large enough to observe and engage the enemy force. Now the observe is just as important as the engage. If you can't see them and estimate their size, then you or your Joes cannot make a good and wise decision whether you want to engage them or try to stay hidden. Let's say you've got bad intel and you think you're just going to take on a squad, maybe 2 squad element, and you got everybody set up, and then they have a whole battalion going down that road. You know, I mean, we're talking 100, 200 guys, and you got 6 guys. Even with an ambush, you're not gonna win that. I mean, realistically, you don't have the manpower for that. So being able to observe and see what they have, make mental notes of their kind of firepower, if they're a near or near peer threat, or even a exceeding threat to your force, you need to observe that. You need to see what they got to make wise decisions. You know, we can sit here and, I mean, this is a bunch of, like, you know, schizo ramblings, I guess you could call it. However, if you ever actually had to implement this in times of invasion or something of the sort, this is life or death. You know, I mean, you need to get right with Christ. You know, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. But that doesn't mean you don't need to defend your land and what's yours. It says in the Bible multiple times, you have every right to defend yourself. So the observation is just as important as your ability to engage the enemy. Now, different kinds of ambush formations. You got a linear ambush. And I'm gonna try to give examples. It's just me out here today. I don't like putting other people on camera, but I'll try to give you examples and then maybe some text later on in the video or cutting in between these. Linear ambush is really simple. You have a road or a deer trail. We'll just say a road. No, let's go deer trail. You have a game trail path or a path in the woods, kind of like this one. This is an old bulldozer trail. A linear ambush would have all your guys on one side, concealed and hidden behind cover and concealment, and then when the enemy element walks along, you ambush them from the side, either one. You don't want your Joes on this side and that side, because then they're going to be shooting to each other. You want them on one side for a linear ambush. A big thing a lot of people get wrong is you don't want them a couple foot apart, a couple meters apart. You want them 25. Really, a grenade kill zone is about 35 meters. So you'd want them about 40, 45 meters. Now it depends on your size, what you're capable of, your terrain. You know, like I said, we're not going to get in ifs, ands, or buts. It's just basics. But you want them far enough apart to where they can see hand signals and they can see each other, but you want to be hidden from the enemy. Saying that, you don't want the first person down here to start firing instantly, because he's essentially going to be in a gunfight by himself. Because if I'm walking down here and that dude right over there starts blasting my way, well, you got 5 other Joes 50 meters apart, so that's, what is that, 250 meters of people, and the only one can conduct any kind of fire unless they get in open sight or they move position. You want to wait till about midway to all the way through to actually start engaging the enemy. Don't get trigger happy, guys. So a linear ambush, I'll try to pop up some examples on screen here, but that is the most simple thing to comprehend. Got essentially it doesn't have to be a linear danger area. That's just the best way I can explain it. Got everybody, and they don't necessarily have to be in a line either. You want them the best cover and the best concealment they can get, but it needs to, they don't necessarily, they need to be parallel to whatever they are engaging. This one is a little bit harder to explain, but it's still not too bad. It's called an L-shaped ambush. L-shaped ambush formation. So you want people parallel to the trail, but let's say it's the end of a trail, or there's a pond, like I was saying. So it's in the shape of an L. You want the long section of the L right here to flank them, to shoot across the trail. You want the L to be at the end of the trail, covered and concealed, or also use if there's a sharp bend in the trail or stream, but we're keeping it basic. It's the end of a trail, dead end road or something. You got Joes all along the edge, 40, 50 meters apart, and it goes in an L, like this, like a L. Either way, it could be right or left. And then on the end of the road, back in the woods, you have a couple Joes as well, 3, 4, 5, 40, 50 meters apart. Like I said, these are good in sharp bends and trails, or streams, or big curves in roads, or ponds, or a dead end road. You could also use this on the wood line of an enemy forward observation base, or if they have a rally point and they go to it, if you wanted to set up something hasty, you could get up on their rally point, and it makes it really hard for them to flank you being in an L-shaped position, because you've got people coming from the side, but you also got people shooting straight down the shooting lane. With this though, especially if you're out here training this, guys, you need to make sure that you trust your people, because on the lower half of the L, if they shift left or right, wherever your other Joes are, if they get excited and start shooting and they're going this way into the fire of the flank, they will start shooting towards your other Joes. So you need to make sure everybody knows their plan and where the other people are at all times, or to the best of your capability, because as soon as you get out of the linear formation, friendly on friendly is definitely an option and can happen. You have to be very careful, and you have to trust your team. If you don't trust your team, I know especially as guerrilla fighters, you can't pick and choose. You know, you can't have like tryouts or anything. You got to take who you can. However, maybe don't have them even be in the ambush if you don't trust them to not shoot into your own Joes. So the next kind of ambush is common kind of ambush is a V-shaped ambush. Now this one, it's not necessarily hard to explain, but like we said, you have to be very careful that everybody knows where everybody is. Essentially, let's say you got a deer trail and you got 3 on this side and 3 on that side. They don't necessarily have to come into the V to be considered a V formation. However, they could be on like 3 on this side and 3 on this side in a V. Like I said, 35, 40, 50 meters apart in a V. What this allows is for whether it's an open area or dense forest, this allows them to get deeper into the kill zone before you start firing. And it can be very, very, very hard to figure out what's going on when bullets start flying. I mean, with any of these, when bullets start flying, your adrenaline gets pumping, and ambush is a surprise. You already got the drop on them. However, with a V formation specifically, it's really hard for the enemy to detect you, because it's not really used a lot, believe it or not, in warfare. It's not really used because the likelihood of them shifting fire in on themselves and your own people shooting at your own people is very high. However, if you can successfully pull this off, it's not necessarily unbeatable, but it's one of the best formations out there. It's one of the best military tactics all around. What causes that is, say you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well 1 and 6 are firing, and their firing is crossing. The enemy is taking fire on both sides, while 3 and 4 are shooting straight ahead into the enemy element, and then 2 and 5 are also crossing fire. That is insane. You got a lot of crossing fire. Let's say interlocking fire is the real military term for it. This kind of formation, ambush formation, is really good in dense terrain. And like I said, it's difficult for the enemy to detect. It's just really hard to pull off. And like I said, I'm kind of going on my own tangent here. I'm done with the notes on my pink notebook. Like I said, guys, with any of these, you need to make sure that your team knows where everybody is. You don't want to be firing at each other. And like I said, you know, you take this basic information, you have to apply it to every single area is different. Like here, it's very dense forest. Even in the wintertime, it's still pretty dense forest. So some V's would make sense. Heck, L's would make sense. I could see myself using or implementing this in a worst case without rule of law scenario. Easy out here. I mean, I'm just looking and I've already seen 4 or 5 different ways I could set it up. But that doesn't mean there isn't a better way or the best way to set it up. It all depends on your terrain. If you live in Kansas and it's all flat and there might be trees every couple miles, you might want to stick to linear. You might want to stick to L-shape, whatever. You know, mission dictates gear, but your terrain, your intelligence, and all of that dictates how you're going to plan your mission. Now, I went through all that whole process in a different video. It's almost an hour long. If you want to learn how to conduct and how to plan military operations, go watch that. I went really in depth. I pretty much read this book, this whole manual about it, and then I took out anything that wasn't useful for a guerrilla in Minecraft. So go watch that, put in your AirPods, just go on a hike or something, do whatever. I try to make this one a little bit shorter. Ambushes are not really a hard concept to understand, they're just hard to get right. So if you were to conduct these operations and train, like go to drills, monthly drills or whatever, I would definitely be doing it. I have somebody just walk in, maybe you want airsoft guns or whatever, blanks. I mean, just be careful. Or if you just even want to unloaded rifles and say bang bang, that would probably be also a viable option. I would definitely be conducting this. I would get somebody walking out there and then, you know, walk purposely in the kill zone and then see if they can spot anybody. Have them try to walk past and you not engage, or, you know, you engage and see if you can get the drop on them. Because even with guerrilla operations, I feel like people just don't realize the access to knowledge in these videos like this, or like Green Thumbs, more popular YouTubers. You can be more qualified than a Green Beret in like a couple years of being in the woods and training. And I know I've probably pissed a lot of people off, but it's facts. You take all the mental struggle and all the push-ups and crap out of it, and you just go out here and hike, and you train strictly the warfighting movements and techniques and how to conduct ambushes. I mean, that you're pretty much like Green Beret qualified. I mean, that sounds terrible, but that's just how it is. And that's how it is with any kind of education, whether you want to be a diesel tech or a psychologist. You can learn anything on YouTube or the internet in like 2 or 3 weeks that's useful and be just as qualified as somebody that went to college 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I mean, maybe not a doctor or psychiatrist. I redact that statement, take it out. But especially any kind of trade or even biology, you can learn anything that's important to that job or skill, including being a soldier and conducting military operations, all through YouTube and stuff. There's a lot of good information. You just got to make sure that who's teaching it knows what they're doing. Me personally, I go through Army TMs, research my own experience when I was in the Army, Marine Corps TMs, because the Marines typically do stuff a little bit different, but it's all the same. I watch other YouTubers, but all this information I just blurted out is straight from the Army TM manual on how to conduct ambushes and such. So yeah, you guys be out there, use what I give you. Use what I give you, train what I give you. Just make sure, I mean, don't do anything crazy. You know, there's a lot of craziness in this world, and it's just, a lot of people try to teach and do the right thing. A lot of people like to be the hero. You know, they love to be heroes and stuff. They do what they can. But, you know, some people are villains. Just be diligent of that. And then if you have a neighborhood watch, so to speak, make sure you kind of vet who's in there. You know, don't be mean to them, but like, if they ain't doing stuff right or they seem a little bit off, don't be afraid to, you know, kick them out, or if it's too bad, tell somebody. I mean, you know, there's a lot of craziness out there. You know, I've seen it here recently around my area, and it's put a lot of different things into perspective. You know, kind of scared me. I kind of wanted to stop making videos because it scared me. Something happened, and all I could think of, what if he watched one of my videos? You know, it happened real close to where I live, and I was like, you know, I couldn't get that off my mind. You know, YouTube will recommend stuff. It'll recommend stuff that's close to you sometimes. You know, in the county or a couple counties over, even in the same state. You know, I'll get recommendations of stuff I don't even look for, but they live in the same state. And something happened last week, and it just didn't sit right with me at all. You know, like I said, all I could think about is maybe he watched one of my videos and did what he did. And you know, I really like to think I'm helping people. That's my goal. I want to help people defend themselves and their communities. I don't be doing anything crazy. And that ain't you. If you're sound in the mind and stuff, I'm not really talking to you. Just keep that in mind. If you need help, go out and get it. Talk to friends. You know, try to be a good person. Always try to be the hero. You know, and always do the right thing. You know, a lot of people say, well, you get the hero, blah, 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 this and that. You know, don't worry about it. Just do what's in your heart. It's telling you it's right. But peace out.